Hi guys, my name's Tal and it's time to go into the maze. Okay guys, so we're talking about a new way to play. So when you jumped into Hearthstone, no doubt you found that there was an exciting new announcement, and we're talking about a couple of new game modes. So I'm not going to sit here and read through this, you probably already have, and if you haven't, then the last thing you need is to hear me read to you. However, we will talk about it briefly and give you a little bit of an overview of what's actually happening in the crazy world of Blizzard and what they're doing to our beloved game Hearthstone. So the first thing you're going to notice is that there's two new game modes. The first one's called Play, and it's standard play, and the second one is Wild. And basically Wild is exactly the same as the way that the game's played now. Standard, however, is going to start rotating through decks. And what I mean by rotating through decks is that at any given time in the game, if you play Standard, there will only be 2 years worth of decks to play. So there's lots of advantages to this. The first one primarily is for new players like me. I'm not going to have to fork out. It's not so bad now because there's three solo adventures that I could buy, and there's the classic deck, Goblins versus Gnomes, and the Grand Tournament. So there's three decks that I need to complete. But of course, in spring there will be another release, so there'll be another deck, and in another year's time there'll be another deck, and so I'm going to need to spend hundreds of dollars just to play the game. And of course, that's not going to be very attractive for new players coming to play Hearthstone, and that's not a good business formula for Blizzard. So it's going to mean that at any given time there's only 2 years worth of cards in play. So they drop off the old content and they introduce new content. Now, for the meta, of course, that means that they're going to be able to get rid of cards and introduce new ones, and it's going to force us to use the new cards because simply there will be cards that will disappear from our decks that we need to replace. So it's going to provide for a pretty exciting game. Now, what they've decided to use the term Wild for the game that allows you to use all of the cards. And the reason why is because if you imagine the game as it is now, it probably doesn't seem all that wild. But if they introduce another deck, and maybe in a couple of years' time there's another 2 decks, you're going to have about 6 or 7 decks worth of cards, and it is going to be pretty wild. So everyone's basically agreed that the standard game is going to be the go-to game. So Wild's going to be something you do for a bit of fun, but the competition, they've already said the World Championships will follow the standard format, so everyone will be playing in standard. But if it's not for you and you do want to play the old cards, then you'll still be able to play Wild, and the ranks will still count. You have a separate rank for standard and Wild, but and you're rewarded for the highest rank that you attain. But obviously, a lot of people will be playing Standard and probably not playing Wild seriously because the tournament format will be Standard, and that's probably what everyone's going to be running with. So it's going to be exciting. I think everyone's generally supportive of the change, and it's going to allow Blizzard to play with balancing some cards in the classic deck as well. But there are quite a few cards that we are used to seeing in our decks, and they will be gone. And for me, I say bye-bye to... Well, I'm not reading off a list here. I'm just trying to remember, but Web Spinner's going to be gone. I'm going to say bye-bye to Mad Scientist. Obviously, Loatheb will be gone as well. Piloted Shredder. So my deck is going to significantly change, and that's because of the removal of Nax Ramus cards, and obviously also the cards from Goblins versus Gnomes. Another notable absence will be Dr. Boom, so Dr. Boom will be gone as well. So there's going to be massive changes to the deck that we play, but while while it's very easy to suggest that it's going to be impossible, and we don't know what cards will be coming in the new deck, and it's probably going to be a little bit exciting to have a look at some alternatives, and looking at playing the Hunter in a completely new way. But what is probably also really relevant is that I think everyone agrees that the Druid is also going to be heavily nerfed, or some of the basic cards will be either nerfed or removed, and I think that the Druid is in everybody's sights as far as Force of Nature and Savage Roar. So the Druid being our second deck, the Hunter being our first, the mid-range Hunter is going to be Ravaged with the removal of all of those cards that I mentioned earlier, and of course the Druid may well be unplayable, or certainly not unplayable. That's probably an exaggeration, but certainly it's going to be very different to play, and so we might need to start looking at something a little different, which is going to be exciting. But I've already made some changes to the way I'm going to play, and I'm looking at some alternatives already. But of course, we've got another season at least before any changes take place. So, guys, I hope that you're excited about what's to come, and change is always exciting. So I look forward to hearing what you guys think about the changes and how they might impact your decks, and some of the cards that stand out as cards that might be a little bit more viable out of the League of Explorers. And of course, the Grand Tournament will still be available for the next year from spring to spring. So while there's no release date of when it will actually come out, we'd expect it's going to be sometime in April. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's all for now. So look forward to the changes. This is Tal out.